Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Jazz Loft. We've got a wonderful, wonderful show for you. But first, we want to introduce this stellar all-star band coming to you live from the Jazz Loft. Please put your hands together. Welcome to the Jazz Loft stage on the Alto Saxophone, Mr. John Marshall. This next guy does not let things slide on the T-bone. We've got Dr. Borrie. And on the guitar, with a little bit of that Midwestern twang, we've got Mr. Steve Salerno. This next gentleman, back from his tour of France, Sweden, the Lower Netherlands, and Rahway, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Mr. Dean Johnson on the bass. And no band would be complete without this man bringing up the rear. I'm talking about our illustrious drummer, Mr. Ellis B. Holmes III. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to present one of the handsomest men in the business, a most talented fellow, not to mention one of the sweetest guys in the music world, a really swell guy with a great personality. On the cornet, Mr. Tom Manuel, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We're going to kick things off for y'all with a little Hank Jones tune for you. This is called Better Go. Mr. John Marshall on the alto saxophone, Rod Borrie on the trombone, and a great little Hank Jones tune called Better Go. That was performed by Mr. Ben Webster and Harry Sweets Edison back in the day on a wonderful little album. We're going to switch gears and play a little Illinois Jaquette tune for you. This is a thing that Jacket recorded back in '54, and it's a tune called The Kid and the Brute. And we have a little online survey happening. You could chime in and let us know who you think the kid in the band is and who you think the brute is.
And 1, 2.
That's the Kid and the Brute, y'all. Mr. Dean Johnson on the bass there, you heard so well. Dean, always a pleasure to have you, man. So glad you're here. Thanks for coming and playing with us, man. This is super. This is swell. So we're going to play a little tune for you that Ben Webster cooked up back in 1962. And if this sounds a little familiar to you, you might kind of recognize that the chord structure that Mr. Webster wrote this melody over is a Duke Ellington composition entitled In a Mellow Tone. But Ben gave it a new melody, and he gave it a new title, which is Did You Call Her Today? Did you call her today, Steve? Yes, see? Ellis, did you call her today? See how important this tune is, folks? John, did you call her today?
Will I be in trouble if I didn't?
Yeah. Rod, did you call Kathy? Did you? So this is Ben Webster's Did You Call Her Today?
One, two.
That's Ben Webster's Did You Call Her Today? Dig that. So that's a little reminder from all of the cats here in the Jazz Loft All-Stars to pick up the phone and call whoever is your blank for her. And I guess in equal opportunity, we should say him, right? Or they, or yeah, the collective and everything in between. So you gotta make that phone call, you know? Maybe we could get sponsored by Verizon. They could pay us for this gig. So this next tune is a fun little tune that was written back in 1953 by a man by the name of Tiny Bradshaw and Red Prysock. And Red was an incredible saxophone player, and along with his brother, the wonderful Arthur Prysock, they were an amazing duo throughout the 50s and 60s that toured and performed and recorded together quite a lot. And Arthur was one of the top billed artists of the day, and he was really wonderful in giving a lot of people we know their start. He was very good friends with Marvin Gaye and Sam Cooke and Natalie Cole. All these people he gave their first gigs to in many cases. So this is a little Tiny Bradshaw Red Prysock tune. It's a jump swing tune that is called Heavy Juice. Heavy Juice. That you like that one, huh? Heavy Juice. Speaking of Verizon, yeah. So here's Heavy Juice, y'all.
And 1, 2, go.
Heavy juice. Indeed. Indeed. So this whole evening's performance for you all is what we're kind of calling our Jazz at the Philharmonic tribute. There was a wonderful man back in the day, a wonderful promoter by the name of Norman Granz. And if it wasn't for Norman, so many amazing jazz recordings that we know are as just being these milestone important things throughout the 50s and 60s and 70s would not exist. And Norman was an incredible pioneer of the civil rights movement, and especially an incredible just stalwart patriot of jazz musicians, and insisted on equal rights for jazz artists and accommodations, pay, contracts, you name it. Norman was just really not ashamed or shy at all to really fight for what was right. And he would put on these wonderful concerts that he called Jazz at the Philharmonic, happened out on the West Coast, and then he took those on tour, and then he started his own record company and recorded them. But the spirit of swing was always evident in Norman's concerts. It was just always about the feel and the groove and having fun, and it just came out in every one of those performances. So this is a little tribute to that great man and those wonderful recordings and all of those great artists that were Jazz at the Philharmonic artists that brought this wonderful language and joyous and healing music of jazz, not only all throughout the United States, but all throughout the world. So a little tribute to Norman Granz. We're gonna play a little something for you now from 1959, and this is a tune that was written by a guy by the name of Jerry Valentine, but it was performed by the great Coleman Hawkins, who was a mainstay on the Jazz at the Philharmonic circuit. And we thought this tune was rather appropriate for the times we're in, because if you notice, Steve's hair is a tad longer, and some of us are donning beards and mustaches and you know, a few extra pounds. Yeah, you know, there's it's a different look, you know, that's kind of come about with all this. And this tune is called Stash. So this is dedicated to all of you out there that have not shaved since March 15th, okay? This is Stash. But it could be a stash of something. Actually, my son has a secret stash what does he call it? The reserve stash, the secret stash. They have like basically they all the kids together have this box and they've pooled their candy. So when the house runs dry, they have the reserve, you know? So he was asking me to buy him candy. He's like, we need it for the reserve, the reserve. I was like, what is it? They have this like whole system and they all contribute to it. And then when like times are really low and nothing's in the snack drawer, they go to the secret stash.
He's gonna be rich someday.
You think?
He's got it figured out.
He's got it. So this is stash, y'all. How do you like that? Stash. That's right, stash. A little stash going on there. So we're gonna turn things way back a bit here, and this is an early New Orleans jazz tune that they still parade to down there, and it's so old. You know a tune's old when they don't know really who wrote it, and they just say traditional. I mean, that, then you know it's really old. Either that, or you had a really bad PR person. You know that? But this is a little tune called Sugar Finger, and I know I don't need to explain to y'all what this is about. So this is Sugar Finger. And I do want to say, the one positive thing that's kind of come of this, which is pretty hip, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but so many people have been checking out the videos, and we've kind of connected a lot with folks that normally we would maybe not be so in touch with. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that's sent emails and comments and has reached out, and even some phone calls. Got a phone call from our good friend Monique in Paris, who has been loving these and enjoying them. So to Monique, we miss you and hope to see you soon. And my good friend Josiah in Liberia was checking this out with some crazy time delay, and a bunch of folks all throughout locally and stuff like that. So we're glad you're all out there and digging what we're doing, and we're glad to do it for y'all. So we hope you enjoy this next one. This is a little Sugar Finger for you. That was Sugarfinger. Yeah. So that reminded me of that ending. We were close to the Ellington. Which is really Borrie or somebody, right? It's a classical dude, right? Yeah. So we should do that as an introduction to this next tune. Just because we can, and we have no place to go, and we're not rushing anywhere. So, this next tune I'm going to play for you, 1962, off a great album by Sonny Stitt. He and Richard Carpenter composed this tune. Chet Baker had a wonderful recording with it that he played with the great George Coleman. Actually, it was a duet album that the two of them did. But it's a hip little tune called Cut Plug, with a completely unrelated introduction.
Soft drum roll, please.
was Ellis Holmes on the drums there on Cut Plug. Mr. Dean Johnson on the bass as well. We are going to play a tune for you now that is entitled Yeti Blues. And this is a recently composed melodic inspiration for all of you. And to the Yeti Microphone Company, if you are listening out there, we welcome your sponsorship. We will gladly plaster your logo all over our website. I'll put it on my Kangol. I could even, a tattoo, I'll do a tattoo. I've been meaning to do that lately, I'll put it next to Century 21 on the left arm there. But this is a little thing called Yeti Blues. We're gonna get a little funky for you all.
Marshall, you take the first one, right? Well, two,
Boys, well, I think we're going to sneak this one in. Can you all give me an F blues? Give me an F blues here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to pay a little tribute now to a good friend of ours who we recently lost, the great Freddie Cole, 88 years old, and we were very blessed to have him do some shows here at the Jazz Loft. But Freddie was an incredible piano player and singer and had this wonderful, wonderful ability to really pick very unique repertoire and had a wonderful voice. And we will miss him tremendously. And there's so many tunes I could have picked, but Freddie sang the blues like nobody else, man. He had some soul. And this is a little thing he did. It was called Home Fried Potato. Give me some home fried potatoes, some green beans, some pork chop and prime rib. That's about all I need. Veal steak gives me that cordon bleu taste. With some ham, some cheese, please watch out for my waist. But baby, what do I get for my dessert? Well done, T-bone tomatoes, tossed salad, home fried potatoes. A bottle of French wine would be so nice. A camera to alone at a table with you. But baby, please give me for you for my dessert. Go get it, Steve. I want them right from the stall. Want some deep fried chicken out of good old Southern all. Some liver and onions, grits would be nice. But I'm gonna take your advice, I'm gonna watch my weight, I'm gonna start jogging next week, okay? But baby, please give me you for my dessert. Mr. Marshall, you wanna get a little bit of that? That's John Marshall on the Alto saxophone. I want you pretty baby, baby of mine. See, I want you, pretty baby of mine. I want a sweet, fried, sexy mama like you, baby, to make me feel so fine. I want you, pretty baby. I want you, pretty baby of mine. I want a sweet, fried, sexy mama just like you, baby. Want it all the time. But hey, won't you give me your kiss for my dessert? I say, hey, won't you give me your kiss for my dessert? Just one? Well, say, won't you give me your kiss for my dessert? That's for the great Freddie Cole, y'all. Freddie Cole. We got another little tribute here, and this is to a man that Mr. Rod Borrie on the trombone back here recorded with extensively and worked with and collaborated with for many, many, many years. And if you don't know the name Hugh Fraser, you have to check him out. And we recently lost Hugh, and his compositions and his arrangements, especially for big band, were just absolutely unbelievable. He was from up north in Canada there. And man, Hugh was just something else. So we'd like to play a Hugh Fraser composition for you. This is a little blues that Hugh wrote, and we're going to feature Rod Borrie on this up front. It's a tune called Up For It, and we hope you are up for it.
Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. 1, 2, go,
Yeah, Hugh Fraser's up for it. But ladies and gentlemen, we have one more song for you before we head out. And I do want to just thank you all so much for being a part of our concert series. I want to remind you that not only do we do this once a week, but we have this wonderful bi-weekly series on Mondays and Fridays, and it's called Behind the Scenes. And it's these wonderful little short snippets into the archives of the Jazz Loft, talking about all the wonderful and interesting artifacts in our collection. So please be sure to check that out. I'm also very happy to announce that around the beginning of this whole pandemic, the Jazz Loft was able to send out, thanks to our donors and patrons like you and all of your donations, a round of assistance checks to needy jazz musicians that are completely unemployed, along with all artists during this pandemic. We were just recently, about a week ago, able to send out a second round to another 15 jazz musicians, and the feedback and their appreciation has been tremendous. So to all of you that donated, thank you so much. Thank you for taking a problem and turning it into an opportunity to do something beautiful. We appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the Jazz Loft. Now more than ever, not-for-profits like us need your help and your assistance if you're able to. So thank you so much for doing that. And we do hope that we see you soon in person. But in the meantime, how's that song go? It'll have to do till the real thing comes along, right? We have one more tune for you now. This is a great Benny Carter composition. It's called Session at Midnight. And this was written back in 1956. And we're going to leave you going out on this tune, and we do hope to see you next week. Once again, I want to thank all of these fine musicians that joined me. And Steve Salerno did all of the arrangements for these tunes, and rather last minute, I might add. So to Steve Salerno on the guitar and our house arranger extraordinaire. We have Mr. Ellis Holmes on the drums back there. Our very special guest this evening, Mr. Dean Johnson on the bass. To my left, John Marshall on the alto saxophone, and behind me, Dr. Rod Borrie on the trombone. I am Tom Manuel. Take care and God bless. And here is Benny Carter's Session at Midnight.
And 1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Thank you so much, folks. We look forward to seeing you next week. Till we meet again, take care. Thank you.